Hello, everyone. We are going to talk about breath today. So instead of a meditation today, we're actually going to do a breath work practice. I know for sure some of you in the program have been using breath work for a long time. I also know that this is very new to some of you. So breath work is something that there is a decent amount of research around it, but more than that, breath work has been used for thousands of years in various different communities around the world as a way to promote kind of calm, a more relaxed state, to allow the body to naturally kind of bring itself down. And it can also be used to increase our energy. So we're going to look at both those things today. In the clinic, when we start with new people, one of the things we look at is something called heart rate variability. And heart rate variability tells us where someone is on a stress scale in terms of how well are they processing stress. Are they processing it in the optimal range, or are they processing it, or are they not processing it? And then that's a state where stress is going to accumulate and can lead to physiologically us getting sicker or being less resilient, right? Being less adaptable. So breath work does seem to have an effect on HRV. There was a large meta-analysis done in 2023 looking at all the breathwork research that has been done, and it does indicate that there is a moderate benefit to breathwork. Again, I think probably anecdotally, if you talk to people that use breathwork, that meditate, that do a lot of yoga, they will tell you how much it makes a difference in their lives. And the only way you can know for sure is if you try it. So we're going to go over two different techniques today. One of them is just going to be in the email. It's going to be one that you will use to increase your energy. And it's from a guy named Wim Hof, who is like the breathwork dude. He's also the cold dude. And then we're going to look at another technique that is more calming, and that's called a 4-7-8 breath. There is also another point I just want to make before we get into that is this idea of the polyvagal theory. So the vagus nerve is this amazing nerve that we've been talking about in chiropractic for 150 years. It's come into general conversation much more lately because we realize that this vagus nerve, this great big nerve that wanders way down all the way kind of to our midsection, has a profound effect on everything in our life, right? So depending on what's happening with your vagus nerve, it will impact almost all of our stress responses in our system. Breath work seems to have a positive impact on the vagus nerve. And again, about 80% of those vagus nerve fibers are actually transmitting information back to the brain. So what's happening in our body is affecting what's happening in our brain, more so than what's happening in our brain is affecting what's happening in our body, and breathwork seems to be helpful with this. Also, people with different stress and anxiety disorders do breathe much more quickly, and they breathe much more shallowly. Anecdotally, for me, when I was doing my master's in physiotherapy, I was taking a class in respiratory physiology. And I remember going into my instructor and I said to her, I just find lately that I just can't breathe very well, right? Like I feel like my breath will get to here and I always feel like I'm like constricted and tight, and I just like I feel like I can't get my breath to where I need it to go. And she was like, "Oh, that's very interesting." She was Australian. I won't try and do the accent. But so we went through all this testing and I did this spirometry and I did all this, and my lungs were beautiful. I'd been a swimmer growing up. My lungs looked great, right? And she's like, "Well, so I don't know what's going on. Sorry." And maybe she didn't know what was going on. She didn't want to tell me. But at the time, I was under a lot of stress and I was feeling a lot of anxiety. And in my head, always just thinking about like, you know, the muscles and the bones and the joints and all those things. I didn't think about the fact that anxiety completely changes how you breathe. And so I was breathing to like here, and here I was trying to like analyze all these different ways in which my lung reserve volume wasn't appropriate, where all it was I needed to recognize the fact that I was dealing with a lot of anxiety. And I definitely feel that now. I notice that if anxiety levels or stress levels increase, I just kind of get this shallow, like, stress breath, right? I also see this in the clinic all the time. People come in often with a rib out and it'll feel awful. It'll feel like, first time it happened to me, I thought I was having a heart attack. It's awful. It's the one thing that often will really, I see it kind of scare people, right? They're like, there's this spot in my back and it's killing me. And I went to the ER and I've done a CT and I've done a chest x-ray and there's nothing wrong. It's a rib. It's a rib every time, not every time, but most of the time it's going to be a rib that's subluxated. Subluxated meaning it's become irritated in the joint. So one of the things I think, and this is just based on my time, my clinical time, is that when we stress breathe, we don't expand those ribs the way that they're meant to expand every day. We're not going through that process, right? If you're a runner or you're getting some really good cardio and you're going to do that. But for the majority of us that aren't maybe exercising as much as we should, and we're not getting that full rib, that full kind of lung expansion that we should be, those ribs don't move properly in the joint how they're supposed to all the time now, right? So they can become stagnant. And again, this is not based on anything more than my clinical experience. I believe that it makes those ribs more likely to become painful and irritated. So when we look at breath work, there's a whole lot to why this is important, much more than just, it sounds like something else I should add to the list of everything else I should be doing, right? So the breath that we're going to start with is a 4-7-8 breath. So the way that this works, I'll explain it first, is you're going to put your tongue right up behind your teeth. So you're going to push your tongue up behind your teeth, and you're going to exhale fully for 4. And then once you're fully exhaled, then we'll start. So you're going to breathe in through your nose for 7, okay, with your tongue again up against the back of the teeth. And then you breathe out for 8, and you're making like a little bit of a sound as the air passes your tongue. Okay. So again, let's try that. So what we're going to do is completely exhale just to get everything out. To start for 4, breathe in for 7 through your nose, and out for 8. Hold for 4, breathe in for 7, breathe out for 8. Hold for 4, breathe in for 7, breathe out for 8. Hold for 4, in for 7, in, out. Hold. Good. So you can go through a few more cycles of that on your own as well. The other technique, the one from Wim Hof, is it's called a double breath. So you breathe in and then out. So there's like a double breath there, but I'll explain it more in the email. Okay, that is your breath work session for today. I would love to know how it goes, and I already feel more relaxed. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.